Hi everyone, welcome back to my classes. Today we will be discussing the second part of your second chapter, physical quantities and measurements, wherein you have already seen the basic four fundamental quantities. Now today in our class we will be discussing the devices used for measuring length, mass, time and temperature. Before starting with today's topic, hope you all have done your homework and copied it to your fair physics copy. Now we are going to start with the devices for measuring length. Now these are the two devices used for measuring length, meter ruler and a measuring tape. So meter ruler is very much familiar to you, measuring tape also is familiar to you. Let's see how we are going to use these two. This is how a meter ruler looks like, and as you all know, this is only a 15 centimeter meter ruler. Meter ruler is not only available in 15 centimeter, it is available in 50 centimeter, 30 centimeter, and usually a meter ruler it will be of a 1 meter length ruler. Now this 1 meter long ruler will be divided into 100 equal parts, right? Now each of this part again will be a centimeter. For example, if you consider this 15 centimeter ruler also, 0 to 1 you consider it as 1 centimeter, right? And again if you could see, each centimeter is further again divided into 10 equal parts, and each equal part will be of 1 millimeter. Clear? Hence, you can say that a meter ruler is marked in millimeters and centimeter. So, this is a basic idea about your meter ruler. Now, let us see how we have to take readings in a meter ruler. That is very familiar to you. See this figure. See, suppose you want to take the reading of this particular point. Now, if you look from any sides also and from straight away also, you can take the readings. But it is not necessary that the reading you have taken will be correct. For you to take the correct reading, always remember your eyes should be in the correct position or straight to the point where you have to take the reading, and then only take the reading of your ruler or whatever readings you are going to take with any equipments. Don't take any reading of any equipments from sidewise. That will be of a wrong position and your reading will be wrong also. Now, second device you are going to use for measuring length is going to be a measuring tape. Now, this measuring tape ruler, you know, it will be of a rigid type of wood and made of plastic. So, if you try to bend it automatically, it will break it. Now, this measuring tape, if you want to take the measurement of any curved surface, you have to use a measuring tape. For example, when you go to your tailor, how they will be using the measuring tape? Right, that you have seen. So usually how you will use the measuring tape is that, see, let's suppose if you see this figure, you can see a reading there. So from the starting point till the end point where you want to take the reading, 2 points you can mark, and you can take the readings of that particular point wherever you are having, and you just take the difference between the two values, you will get the reading of your measuring tape. So that is all about the devices for measuring length. Now let us see what are the devices for measuring mass. You can use either a beam balance or an electronic balance. So both of these will be very familiar to you when you go to your shops, or when you go to a goldsmith, or you go to some grocery shops. These all are very familiar to you. Now let's see how we are going to take readings out of these. Now, this is very familiar to you. This is how a beam balance looks like. Now, as you see, you can have a rigid support with a pointer there. On either of the sides, you can have two identical pans suspended from either of the sides from equal distance from the support or the pointer, right? Now what you are going to do is that on one pan you will be putting the object which you want to take the mass, and on the other right pan you will be putting the standard weights like this. And let's suppose if you want to buy something for 5 kg, right? You're going to a shop and you want to buy something for 5 kg. What you will do, you will take this 5 kg standard weight and you will put it in either of the pan here. Let's suppose you are going to put that in the right pan, that 5 kg standard weight you are going to put it here, and the object which you want to buy or the material which you want to buy, you are going to put it in the left pan. Now, when you put the objects or the material you want to buy it in the left pan, when it will become equivalent to 5 kg, these both pan will come to equilibrium or come to a same position or in the same height. If one pan is down, means that side the weight is more. Accordingly, you can adjust and buy the objects whatever you want. That is how you are going to measure using a beam balance. This is going to be a grocer's balance. Here also, instead of pan, you have two pans. Here you are having space for keeping your standard weights, and the material which you want to buy, you will keep it here, and the procedure will be that of the same. Now next what you are having is a physical balance. See, this physical balance mainly it will be used in laboratories or by goldsmith for accurate results, or even for very small results or small mass you have to use this physical balance. Clear? So this physical balance is actually very highly sensitive. Even a small amount of air even will affect this physical balance. That much sensitive it will be. These all will come under your beam balance. Next what you are going to have is your electronic balance. So this also you might have seen in shops wherever you go for buying objects also, right? Now this actually having the structure is like this. It will be having a load bearing stand. This is where you are going to put the weight. Okay, weight or whatever material you want to buy, you will be putting it over this space. And here you can see a signal conditioner where you will be displayed the weight of the object kept here. Like your beam balance or your physical balance or your grocer's balance is not going to have any balancing pans for that. Instead you will keep the object whatever you want to buy in this space provided, and whatever is the weight will be displayed here. How it is working is that this electronic balance is actually having a load cell inside it, which converts the load into the electrical signals, and whatever is the value will be displayed here, right? So that is all about your beam balance and your electronic balance. Now let us see what are the devices for measuring time. Pendulum, clock and watch. So measuring of a time, reading a watch or a clock or whatever it is, you are very familiar with it. You know how to take readings out of a clock, or if you are asked what is the time now, you will very easily read it, and this will not be a very tough task for you. This will be a very easy topic, and let's see how it is. Now coming to your measuring devices for your time, you are having a pendulum, clock and your watch. Both the way of working will be the same. That is, it is having a minute arm, a hour arm, a second arm. Your clock or your watch is also having the same, but there is a slight difference in its working. That is, the pendulum clock, which is working on the basis of oscillation of your pendulum. This is what is called as your pendulum. This you have already learned when you learn about your oscillatory motion, right? So this pendulum, it moves one side in 1 second and in the other side in also in 1 second. Together the time period of a pendulum total for one to and fro motion will be of 2 seconds. So that is what you have to keep in mind. Now the next thing, how it is going to work, or how this minute or second hands or minute arm is going to move is, that is, when the pendulum moves 1 second to one side, your second arm will move one division. Right? Now as you rest is as usual. When you see the clock or watch, whatever it is, when the second arm completes one complete rotation, you will have 1 minute, and again this minute, in that 1 minute your minute arm will move one division. Now again this minute arm, when it moves 60 times or in 60 minutes, again it is going to be 1 hour, and your hour arm is going to move one division. So the rest is as usual. The same thing with your working with your watch also. But the difference is that in case of your watch, it is actually having gear wheels. Okay, your watch is having a gear wheels which is being used there for setting up the speed of rotation instead of a pendulum. That is only the difference. Rest, the minute arm working, second arm working, hour arm working will all be the same. Now, when you talk about your watches, you have to talk about short time interval measuring devices, that is your stop clock and your stopwatch. See, unlike your pendulum clock or your watches, they don't have any minute arm, hour arm or anything like that. But instead, it is having arrangement to restart or to stop till 0, whatever it is. You can see the knobs provided here on its sides for adjusting the time, that is to reset to 0 or to stop or to start. Now these short time interval measuring devices, they are actually used for laboratory experiments, right? Now one more thing you can see is your electronic stopwatch. Okay, electronic stopwatch, unlike all other watches, your stopwatch, your stop clock or your watch or pendulum, it does not have any second arm, minute arm or hour arm. Instead, like your electronic balance, it is having a electronic display, automatic electronic display. So here it will be not having any arms, that is your second arms, minute arm or hour arms, but more and much accurately, even up to 0.01 seconds it can have accuracy. That much difference value also it will be shown in the electronic stopwatch, and that is why usually this electronic stopwatch is used in athletics to measure the time. That is, when the athletics are running, there can be even chances of 0.01 seconds for one person to win. So this accuracy or that much exact result is needed in athletics. For such purposes you are using electronic stopwatches. Now, hope you have understood about the pendulum, clock and watch. Let's now move on to devices for measuring temperature. There mainly includes the device you already have learned. Thermometer is the device used for measuring temperature, and the thermometer, it is mainly of two types: laboratory thermometer and clinical thermometer. Now, before going into this laboratory thermometer and clinical thermometer, let us just revise the three scales of temperature. Then it will be easy for you to understand the thermometers. So these are the three scales of temperature: Kelvin scale, Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale. Okay, now Celsius scale you can call it as centigrade scale also. You will be writing it as how you see here, degree Celsius, and this name Celsius is given after the scientist Andrews Celsius. Now when you talk about Fahrenheit scale, again like your Celsius scale, it can be written as degree Fahrenheit, and it is also named after a scientist, Gabriel Daniel Fahrenheit, right? Now again you are having one more scale of temperature, that is your Kelvin scale of temperature. So if you notice that when you write the symbol for Kelvin, you will not write degree Kelvin, you will simply write Kelvin, right? Now it is also named after scientist Kelvin. Clear? Now, when you talk about the scales of temperature, you should know what is the ice point and steam point of each scale of temperature. Now, for Kelvin scale, the ice point will be 273 Kelvin, steam point will be 373 Kelvin. For Celsius or centigrade scale, ice point will be 0 degrees Celsius and steam point will be 100 degrees Celsius. And for Fahrenheit scale, it will be 32 degree Fahrenheit ice point and 212 degree Fahrenheit steam point. Accordingly, you are having the number of divisions between ice point and steam point. That is, for Kelvin it will be 100, Celsius it will be 100, and for Fahrenheit it will be 180, right? Now let us come to the types of thermometers. First, let us discuss laboratory thermometer. So this is how a laboratory thermometer will be. Now as you can see in the figure, the laboratory thermometer will be having a marking from minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degree Celsius. So that is the first difference between your laboratory thermometer and your clinical thermometer, right? Remaining everything, whatever mercury bulb you are having, capillary tube you are having, the stem of your thermometer you are having, all will be the same, and one small change will be in this part regarding your clinical thermometer, that we will discuss it there. Rest everything will be the same, but the readings or the markings of your laboratory thermometer and your clinical thermometer will be different. Now let us see how we are going to measure the temperature using a laboratory thermometer. So as you can see in the figure, the arrangement will be done like this. Always that is the mercury end will be in such a way that it will be inside the liquid. Say for example, if you are going to measure the temperature of water, this mercury or the mercury bulb should be placed in such a way that it will be inside the water. Now you can see this mercury reading is rising up. You can see the black mark here, right? Now as usual, once it will stop me at a point where the temperature of the given water will be. And as I said you, when we have learned about the measuring ruler, right, always take the reading from the straight end. Don't look it from any of the side ends. Keep your eyes straight to your reading and then only take the reading of your thermometer. Now let us come to clinical thermometer. As I told you, there are only slight differences between your in structure there are only slight differences between your clinical thermometer and your laboratory thermometer. Now when you come to your clinical thermometer, you can see that the reading starts from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, right? And as I told you earlier, rather than your laboratory thermometer, in this area you are having a small change. That is, you are having a kink or a bend there, which you call it as constriction. Actually, this constriction in a clinical thermometer is meant for a purpose like this. It will prevent this mercury from falling back by itself. Okay, so that is the purpose of a bend in a clinical thermometer. Now, as you all know that for a healthy person, the normal body temperature will be 37 degree Celsius, and that 37 degree Celsius is only being marked by this red arrow given in your clinical thermometer. Now one more thing, these clinical thermometers are not only available in Celsius thermometers, it is also available in Fahrenheit thermometer also. Now in Fahrenheit thermometer, instead of 35, it will be from 95 degree Fahrenheit to 110 degree Fahrenheit. And for you, if you are using a Celsius clinical thermometer, the normal body temperature it will show as 37 degree Celsius, but in a Fahrenheit thermometer it will be around 98.6 degree Fahrenheit, right? So that is all about your devices for measuring temperature. Now we are moving on to the last topic of your second chapter, that is measurement of area. Now when you talk about the measurement of area, you have to measure the area of objects having regular shapes also, one which is having irregular shapes also. Now regular shapes, it is very easy because it is having definite shape, so length, breadth, everything you can measure. But irregular shape, you have to find some other methods. Now let's see how we are going to do this. Now as I told you, objects which are having regular shapes like square, rectangle, circle, triangle, they are having definite length or breadth or height, whatever it is. So automatically they are having equations directly for finding out the areas, right? So it is easy in that case, but the question will come if the object is of a irregular shape. In that case, we are making use of a graph paper. Now as you see in the figure, you may be knowing this sheet is called as a graph paper. Now each column of a graph paper, it will either be 1 millimeter or it can be 1 centimeter also. So since it is of a square shape, the area of one square column can be 1 millimeter square, or if it is in centimeter, you can consider it as 1 centimeter square. Okay, so this is basically about a graph paper. Now our question is how we can find out the area of an irregular surface using a graph paper. Now for that, what you are going to do is that you are going to take whatever is the irregular shaped object you are having, you are going to take it, keep it on the top of your graph paper, and then what you are going to do is that just take a pencil and draw an outline of the figure you are having or irregular shape you are having, whatever the shape be. For example, you can have the shape as shown it in your figure here. Now how you are going to calculate the area is that first you have to count the number of complete squares. Okay, first you have to count the number of complete squares and you write down how many complete squares are there. Clear? Now second step, what you are going to do is that you are going to write down the number of squares with half and more than half. Okay, half and more than half portion you are going to count, that also you are going to write. Clear? Now below half you have to neglect it, no need to count it. Now you are having the number of complete squares and you are having the number of half and more than half squares. Those two numbers you add together, you will get a value, and that value will be the approximate area of your given shape. So you are using the word approximate. Why? Because you cannot say that it is exactly the area. You will get an average or an approximate value only, because less than half columns you are already neglecting, right? So you have to use the word approximate, then only the experiment will be correct. Hope it is clear for you. So with this, your second chapter is complete. Now for your homework, as usual, since your chapter is complete, you are going to complete the question answers till question number 27. You have to complete the question answers till your question number 27 in your fair copy. With this, we are winding up today.